Hey, what's up you guys? It's Vicky Vice and welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome to my YouTube channel if you've never been here before. I thank you guys so much for stopping by. So, this video is a lot different from any video I've ever done before. It's a story time, and as you probably know from the title, I had a 3-hour conversation with someone that's a racist. So, if that's the story you want to hear, make sure you stay tuned. So the other night, I don't know, this is a weird story to tell. So the other night, there was an event at my boyfriend's work that we went to. It was at a Dave & Buster's, and it was a bunch of his coworkers that I had met previously, but it had always been like a great thing. Everyone was always so kind and nice. And everyone it was a great night. Like, everyone was joking around and everyone had been drinking. It started at like 6 o'clock, so everyone had a pretty early start. Around 9 o'clock, there was a conversation that my boyfriend and I were having. So to give you a little bit of background, my boyfriend is white and obviously I'm black. So we were having this discussion with a bunch of people about how weird it is not being together, but how weird it is when we're out in public and the different stares that we get, or the preconceived notions that people have about us. And one of his coworkers, I'll name him Phil, he said, "How did your families feel about you two being together?" And we were both like, "Our families are great. Like, we love our families so much. They love each other. My mom and my sister love him so much, like my boyfriend so much, and his family loves me, and we've always had a great relationship with each other from the beginning. There's never been any animosity between the families about me being black or him being white. It's always just been a great family dynamic." So we were talking about that, and we were talking about how most of the comments that we've gotten were from people that weren't our family, or we've gotten stares from people in restaurants, or whenever we go out somewhere we'll get weird stares from people. Because I get it, like, when people see an interracial couple, traditionally they think about a black man and a white woman. They don't usually think about a black girl and a white guy, which is a little bit confusing for a lot of people, especially where we come from, which is a smaller town. There are more, there's less interracial dating than there would be in a metropolitan area or a heavily populated city. So it's very different for a lot of people. Even when we're near Baltimore, it's still very different for a lot of people to see, because it's not a commonplace thing. So we were talking about that, and then we were talking about when we have kids in the very far future, how that's going to be. And he was asking a lot of weird questions. And so we were just talking about how different it was growing up, because I went to a school that had a lot of mixing. They had mixed kids, they had black kids, white kids, kids from like the Caribbean and from Asian countries and from South American countries. There's a lot of mixing in my schools in my school that I went to. When at my boyfriend's school, there were a lot of African American people, even though he is white. And so we were talking about that whole thing. And we were talking about how different it is, because I remembered back when I was young, I've always been someone that was attracted to all different types of people. Like, I've always been attracted to white guys. I've just been attracted to people, not like, I don't look at the color. If I find you attractive, then I find you attractive. Like, that's not debatable for me. Like, it's not your color. The color of your skin has never been something that is a turnoff for me. And my boyfriend's the same way. And so we were talking about that. And I was bringing up a situation when I was younger, and I was in church, and there was this guy that I really had a crush on. And how hard it was being this black girl that liked white guys, and them always being like, "Yeah, you're cute, but you're an N-word." And I said the N-word. I don't like using that word, but I said it for the dramatic punch. And I said, "You're cute, but you're an N-word." They'd always be like, "You're cute, but you're an N-word." And this person, Phil, along with other people, was listening, and I was like, he was asking me a lot of questions, and he was like, "I hope you don't take offense to me asking all these questions about your personal life, or asking about terminologies and stuff, about how you feel about the word black or African American and stuff like that." And I was like, I don't have any problems with it, because it's not coming from a hateful place. I don't consider you to be racist. And he looked at me dead in the eye. He said, "I do." And I was like, what? And he was like, I consider myself to be a racist. I'm a racist. And, you know, in that moment, my heart like dropped to my feet, because this person, Phil, I had met Phil before. You know, I had had conversations with Phil before. I drank with Phil. He had bought rounds for the whole group, and including me. It was very, you know, welcoming and like arm around you kind of guy, like asking you questions. You're a beautiful person kind of person. So it just took me back, because that's not the person I thought that Phil was. And so after I had a second to get my thoughts together, I said, what do you mean you're a racist? And he said, I'm a racist. I was like, you're not telling me what that means. He said, as a general rule, I do not like black people. And I said, why? He said, I just don't. And I said, that's not, you are old enough to be my father. You are 56 years old. That's not a good enough excuse as to why you are a racist. And he said, well, and mind you, I understand how this looks, because, you know, if I were to hear this story from someone else, I'd be like, why the hell did she just leave? Why didn't she leave this conversation? Why would she put herself in this situation to talk to somebody who hates her? I'm a very curious person. Sociology was my favorite class that I ever took in college. I don't know, cultures are interesting to learn about, and subcultures are interesting to learn about, and the way people think based on the way they were raised is interesting to think about and to learn about. So I kind of saw this as an opportunity where I'm in a mixed space. I'm not, you know, at some like backwoods place, or, you know, I'm at a Dave and Buster's. Like, I was not expecting to have the conversation here, but damn if I won't have this conversation here, because I want to know. Because all the conversations I've ever had with racists, I've had it online, where, you know, you can only type so much, and when you post things, there's a lot of room for things to get misconstrued. And I'm not saying that racism is ever misconstrued, because it's f***ed up and it's messed up, and there's no way of justifying that. But I wanted to know why he thought this, and it was my perfect chance to see why. So, you know, we go into this whole conversation, and it was just, he was talking about, you know, he was like, I'm from a small backwoods town in Pennsylvania. That's just what I know. There aren't any black people around there, and, you know, that's just what I know. And I was like, that's still not a justification as to why you don't like black people. I was talking to him, and I said, you've never seemed to dislike me at all. You've always been very kind. You've always been very friendly. You've always been very welcoming. Why do you feel this way? Do you feel this way about me? And he said, when I first saw you, I didn't know, because you seem nice enough, but I don't know you. He's like, I know your boyfriend, and I know that I like him, and he's my friend. So I, out of respect for him, gave respect to you. And I said, you've talked to me. You're talking to me now. If you truly felt this way, you wouldn't be having this conversation with me, because in the experiences I've had with people that, you know, say they don't like black people, they don't even want to be in the same room as a black person. They don't want to be in the same, they don't want to touch a black person. This person's like touched my shoulder and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't get it. And there was something early in the conversation that he said, you know, I don't like it. I'm not proud of it. I'm ashamed of it. And I try not to feel that way. And I said, okay, well, that's a good start, because, you know, you understand that what you feel isn't right. Like, the conversations I've had with people that are racist or stuff like that, they're very unapologetic for what they feel and what they believe. They feel like everything that they think is correct. So the fact that he was there having a conversation with me meant that, to me at least, that there was some doubt. And I'll go back to that later in my story. But it means to me that there is doubt about what you believe. And, you know, just based off of, you know, what he was saying about having feelings of remorse, it wasn't, the story of I'm a racist wasn't all that, you know, it seemed to be behind who he was. Because he's a very intelligent man. My boyfriend is a software engineer, and he works with software engineers. So Bill is a very intelligent man. So, I don't know. It just was very confusing to me, and I wanted to know more about what he had to say. And so I was like, there was one point that astonishes me because I said, you have to strip it down. Take away our skin color. Take away my hair. Take away... Oh, that was one thing. He said, he's like, I said, what don't you like about black people? He said, the hair. And I was like, the hair? And, you know, he said, the hair. Your hair is very off-putting. And I was like, how's my hair off-putting? It's in dreads. And he said, it's just so in my face. And I said, how is my hair on my head, my choice, in your face? And he said, it's just, it looks so, dreads look so dirty and they look so unkempt, and why can't you just have straight hair? And I was like, because I wasn't meant to have straight hair, sweetie. Like, my hair is kinky curly. Like, my hair is untamable, unmanageable. My hair is clean, first of all. But second of all, it's not, this is what my hair naturally does. And he said, and I don't like that. And I said, well, I do. Because for so long, I hated myself when I was younger for my hair. And I told him this. I hated myself for my hair because I was bullied by the white kids. And I was bullied by the black kids. I was bullied by the white kids because I didn't have their bone straight hair. And I was bullied by the black kids because I had bad hair. Which, for the record, there's no such thing as good hair or bad hair. Hair is f***ing hair. Like, there's no good hair, there's no bad hair, there's hair. And my hair is good hair because it's on my head. So, we got into this discussion because I said, my hair is an embodiment of the power that I have inside of me. Because all those years, I was bullied relentlessly. I fried my hair trying to get relaxers and straighten my hair with hot combs and straighteners and do anything that I could to my hair. To the point where I fried it. And for what? Because someone told me that I wasn't good enough? Sweetie, I know I'm good enough. So that's just, that made me angry. And, you know, I'm someone that has a very, I'd like to say that when I have conversations with people, I have a very level head. I used to not have a very level head, but in adulthood, I have a very level head about these things. And so that made me angry. And I was like, you're not going to disrespect me or my hair because of the choices I make. It's my head, my hair, my decision. And he said, well, why do you choose that hair? And I said, I don't always have this hair. I have wigs sometimes because I like a good wig. Like, I love good locks. I love good braids. I love whatever I'm feeling. And the fact that it's my body means that I have the right to choose what I wear on my head. No black person is wearing dreads on their head to be disrespectful to you. Frankly, I don't think anyone cares about disrespecting you enough. But I just was so taken aback by the fact that he thought that my hair, like my locks, were offensive to him and so in his face. And I told him that. I was like, I don't like your hair. I was like, I don't like long hair. That doesn't mean that I feel like you're in my face. I just think that it's a decision that you decided to make. How would you feel if I said that your hair was disgusting because it's longer? And he said, well, I was in the military. It's like, I served my time. I deserve my long hair. And I was like, I did my time. I was bullied relentlessly in my formative years. Like, relentlessly for my hair. I've deserved to have whatever hair I want. And so, with that being aside, I asked him, on the inside, take away my skin, take away the hair, take away anatomy. What's the difference between you and me? And the avoidance that he tried to use was very interesting. He said, well, first of all, and he like did this like looking deep into me, like, he was like, I don't like the way you are. And I was like, the way I am? And he was like, not personality wise, I just don't like how strong you are. And I was like, you don't like how strong I am? He was like, you're too strong and you're too independent, and I think that women should be more submissive and not talk as much and not be so opinionated. And I was like, look, because I was somebody, I'm about to give you a little backstory on me. I was somebody that, you know, used to just go along with the flow, to not make waves. And in adulthood, I'm not like that, because the longer you stay silent about stuff, nothing's ever going to get better if I'm quiet. And this is my personality. I'm a Leo. I am very opinionated. I'm very strong-willed. You can ask my mom. I am probably the most persistent person you have ever met in your entire life. And I'm not going to ever change that. And he was like, well, doesn't your boyfriend feel threatened by you being this strong person? I was like, first of all, he's secure enough in himself to know that I'm a strong, independent black woman. Like, not to be cliche, but I'm a strong, independent black woman. And he's a strong, independent white man. Me being bright and shining bright does not diminish from his glow. And him being strong and smart and bright does not diminish from who I am. So I don't understand why he figured that because I'm with my partner, I should be less than him or talk less or be less opinionated about things. I was like, that's ridiculous, first of all. So I was like, don't you feel like you're diverting from the question I asked you? What's the difference? I said, black people, here's what I don't think that racists understand. Black people have thoughts and feelings and emotions. I said to him, think about every feeling you've ever felt. Happiness, sadness, joy. Every time you've laughed, every time you felt sad, every time you felt hurt. Black people feel that too. Every experience that you've ever had, the good, the bad, the ugly, the downright disturbing. Black people have had those experiences too. And he was like, I guess so. And I was like, what do you mean you guess so? I'm a human. Like, he was like, I'm not saying that you're not a human. I was like, well, basically racism means that you feel like I'm subhuman. And he understood that, you know, I don't want to be like that person, but he understood that I'm not a dumb person, that I am pretty intelligent when it comes to at least social things. And so he started to feel threatened, I could see. And so he started going back into things like, he was like, how do you feel about affirmative action? And I said, not to be political, but I feel like affirmative action is great, but I think that there are flaws to it. I don't think that it should be about trying to meet a quota. I think that it should be about having representation in the workplace, not numbers, but based off of quality and numbers. And he went back to this time in 1987 where he was denied a job because of a black person. And I said, were you denied this job because of a black person, or were you denied this job and a black person got it? Because there's a difference. I highly doubt that the recruiter that hired you said, you know, you're great, but I gotta hire a black person. That doesn't happen. And the fact that he has felt this way for over 30 years, I was like, you're holding on to something that happened over 30 years ago. Do you understand how ridiculous that is? Because you didn't get one job. You seem to be doing just fine now. He just kept trying to make this point about affirmative action. And I said, do you understand why affirmative action is in place? And he said, so that black people can get into schools and black people can get into a job. And he was like, I'm the only race of people where it's federally legal to discriminate against. And I said, you don't want to get in a conversation about discrimination with me. And that's exactly what I said. He was like, I'm not trying to get into a discussion about discrimination with you. I was like, well, you talked about discrimination, so let's talk about it. Did you know that it is legal in so many states to discriminate against me because of my hair? I could have all of the qualifications in the world, unlimited qualifications. I could be the best fit for the job, but someone could say, you don't deserve this job because your hair is in locks or your hair is in an afro. That is discrimination. He was like, well, it's federally legal to discriminate against me. I was like, it's not federally legal to discriminate against you. It is federally legal to give black people an opportunity to find a job or to have a place in a college. And he said, well, I just don't feel like I should have to pay for things that my ancestors did. And I was like, and I don't think I should have to pay for things that your ancestors did either, but I do. And that's the reality of it, is that you feel like you don't have to pay, but everyone else around you does. Every black person around you does. And that's not fair to me, because there's a world of opportunity out there for me, and you think that I won't deserve it because I'm black. And I could achieve so much. I could get a great job, or I could get into a great college and have it discredited in an instant because someone said, you only got that because you're black. Do you know how messed up that is to have it be a thing where someone could say, you only got that because you're black? Think about Malia Obama and how great she is as a student, or how intelligent she is. She has intelligent parents and comes from a great background. She got into Harvard and people were saying that she didn't deserve it because her parents are who they are and that they stole that spot from a white person. She worked hard all of her life and worked to the top of the top, and people would discredit her by saying she only got that because her parents are the Obamas and she took that spot from a white person. No, she earned that spot. Racism is so many different things. There's so many different things encompassed in it. You know, being able to discredit black people for anything that they do. You can work so hard and people will try to amount it to nothing. That's one of the things about being black, and it sucks. So, you know, we went on to like talk about a whole bunch of different things like slavery and, you know, how Reconstruction didn't do anything to help black people, you know, mass incarcerations, redlining, the civil rights movement, just different things where he just tried to discredit every point that I made. And I was like, how are you discrediting these points? These are, I don't know, at different points I was just baffled about, you know, the things that he was saying, but curious about why he was saying it. And in different parts of the conversation, it was kind of weird because he would get very angry, but not like outwardly angry at me. It was more of an anger at himself. And there were different times where Phil would say, you know, I hate you, right? And I said, why do you hate me? What have I done to make you hate me? And he says, because you're making me think. And you're making me think about the way that I think about things. And making me think about the way that I feel about things. And I said, why is thinking about these things a bad thing when you're thinking of me as a human and not someone that's less than you? And it was just crazy. And he was like, you know, when I think about black people, I don't think about you. And that's something that I've gotten my whole life because, you know, I talk the way I do, which people have always been like, you talk white. And I'm like, no, I talk the way I talk. I don't talk like a color, because you can't talk like a color. That sounds so stupid. But people have always been like, you talk white, you think you're better than us, you know, or you think you're trying to be something that you're not, which isn't even the case. And so he was like, I don't think about you that way, you know, you talk well and you dress the way you do, and I don't think of you as a black person. And I'm like, is my skin black? Like, you can not think of me as a black person, but guess what? I'm black. My skin's black, my hair's black, I'm black. And so I was like, I have a question. I said, how many black people do you know? And let's call her Terry. He was like, other than you and Terry, 3 black people. And I said, and of those black people that you've met, do you like me enough? And he was like, well, yeah. And I was like, do you like Terry? And he was like, yeah. I was like, do you like your other friend? And he was like, yes, I do. And I said, then why is it so easy for you to assume that black people are some violent or hood or disgusting, less than you type of person when you're having this intellectual conversation with me? And he said, because that's what I was taught. And I said, okay, but you can be taught something and you can be taught wrong. We were taught when we were kids that Christopher Columbus discovered America. He didn't do that. Like, you can be taught things and those things be wrong. But it's what you do with the information that you get from realizing that you're wrong. You can either hear it and tune it out and stay ignorant, or you can listen to it, take it in, and change your life. And it was just weird because the whole situation, it was kind of like he was turning from stuff that he had already thought about and stuff that he had already known. And it was just an interesting conversation, to say the least. And I asked him, I was like, why do you feel this way? He was like, I was raised that way. And because I was robbed of a job in 1987, I was like, do you understand how ridiculous it is to hold on to something that happened to you over 30 years ago? You know, there are things that have happened in my life where I've been treated poorly, horribly by white people. The one dude called me an N-word in church, the one place that you're supposed to be safe. He called me an N-word in church. I could have held on to that. I could have been like, you know what? Forget white people. I don't care. I don't want to be near them. I don't want to have anything to do with them. But I didn't, because understanding how to separate a person or a situation or anything that's happened to you from, you know, a whole race of people is important, because, you know, it's easy to hate. It's not hard to be like, you know what, forget them, I hate all of them. But it's choosing to be bigger than that and choosing to love instead of be a hateful ass person. And I said that to him. And I was like, there were situations, in my life where I could have chosen to hate people, but I didn't. There are countless situations in my life where I could have chosen to be hateful, but I wasn't, because I understand that loving people is way more important. And, you know, he would continue to be like, you know what, I hate you because I hate that I'm having this conversation with you and it's making me think about these things. He was like, and I'm embarrassed. I don't want to feel this way. And I was like, then change it. And he was like, I can't just change it overnight. And I was like, look, no one's asking you to change who you are overnight, because that doesn't happen. I used to be a hateful ass person. Like, I used to be mean. Like, changing who you are, like, in a day isn't a thing that happens. It's proactively working on changing who you are and being conscious of the thoughts you're having and conscious of the decisions that you're making and the prejudices that you're, like, acting on. It's not just a, oh, I don't want to be this way thing. It's a conscious decision that you make every day to not be that way. And he was like, I never thought of it that way. And I was like, you gotta think of it some way, because you're obviously not happy with thinking the way you are, Phil. Like, it's not, you're obviously wrestling with this. And, he was like, I don't know, but I do know something. And I said, what? And he said, I want to have this conversation with you more. I was like, okay, that sounds good. I'll study. And he was like, oh God, she's going to be studying. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to be studying, because I need to bring the facts to you and show you, why what you're doing and saying and feeling is messed up, but also working towards you not being so messed up. And so by that time, it was midnight and Dave & Buster's was closing, and I was shaking by the end of this conversation. And there were things that, like, I've left out because some things did get heated, and there were so many facts that were thrown his direction, so many facts that, kind of shook his ideologies, I guess. And, it was a long conversation. It was 3 hours worth. But I kind of talked on, like, the biggest points. But I think, I don't know, after the conversation, my heart was racing, because I'd never talked face to face with a racist. And that's not really something a lot of people can be like, yeah, I've talked to a racist. And, from the second the conversation started to the second it ended, my heart was like going a mile a minute. And it got heated. There were 2 times where I cried, not because of him, but because of, reflecting on traumas from my life, where I had to go back to that place and I had to think about, the things that had been done to me or said to me or said to my family or done to my family, where it's generations of trauma and it's things that you have to live with. And unfortunately, it's something that you carry around with you all the time. I know that other Black people probably know it's something that you carry around with you, and you don't want to, but you do. And so I don't feel like the situation educated me, but it was more about educating someone else. And I think that that's important, because here's the deal. Social media, I love it, but it's created so many echo chambers of people who, you only want to hear things that are relevant to what you believe. People want to feel like their thoughts are justified, and they want to feel like what they have to say or their beliefs are, are valid. And I said that to him. He was like, why do I feel like this? And I was like, I don't know, but I was like, it's one of those things where he personally was taught from a very young age that you're supposed to hate Black people. You're supposed to hate anyone that's not like yourself. And, your thoughts and your ideals and your beliefs are the truest thing to you as a person. Things around you are tangible and they can change, but the things inside of you, that's what you carry around all your life. That's what you carry around inside of you. It's in your brain, it's in your heart. It is the truest thing to you, and that's how you choose your actions. So obviously when someone is, threatening your belief system or trying to, change what you think. It's a scary thought, but the fact that he was open to having those thoughts changed is really interesting. But back to the point I was trying to make, everyone has these echo chambers that, they have, your friend group, they think the same things as you probably. Your Facebook friends think the same thing as you probably. Instagram, the people you follow on YouTube, Reddit, people, you surround yourself with people that have similar ideals and thoughts. And so I don't think he had ever been around someone that challenged the way that he thought so fervently. And I don't think that he had ever been challenged by someone so young, because I am 22 years old. He's the same age as my mom. And so I think that I don't think he was expecting me to be as passionate about what I had to say or as informed about what I had to say. And so I think it was just surprising to him. But I think that these conversations are necessary off of social media. And I'm not saying to go like find a racist and go talk to them. But what I'm saying is that if you're ever in a situation, or if you're ever put in a situation like I was, and you feel like you're in a safe place and you're surrounded by people that you trust, I can't say I recommend having these discussions. Like, I wouldn't recommend anyone having this discussion, because it was fucking hard. Like, it was like the hardest thing I've ever had to not endure, but it was the hardest conversation I've ever had to have. It was the most scary conversation I've ever had, because, I'm only this guy's acquaintance. He could have hurt me. I mean, we were in public, but he could have hurt me. But I'm saying that, even on social media, having these discussions is important, because when you're surrounded by people that think the same things as you, you're not going to enlighten anyone's mind. You're not going to change anyone's mind when you're surrounded by a bunch of people that are like, yeah, you're right. That doesn't change anyone's mind. But having these discussions calmly, without, fear of, being harmed, I think that they're important, because I feel like his life has been changed, and I know that that's a really big statement to make, but I feel like in some way that conversation made an impact, because he said it himself that our conversation made him challenge the way that he thought, and he didn't like that. But I think that challenging the way that people like this think is important, and it's an important step to progressing. I don't know. I'll definitely say that this was a very rewarding conversation that I had. I was able, in my opinion, to change, not entirely his beliefs, but change the way that he saw things and challenge these feelings that he had for such a long time. And, it's something I'm never going to forget, because I was also able to, like, stand my ground, which is something I never thought I would do. It was kind of like David and Goliath kind of thing, where he's a big dude. I'm thick, but, like, I'm not tall or anything. So it was like a, I don't know, it was just really weird. And, I was able to stand my ground and hold my own, but deliver facts to this guy and hopefully change the way he thought. So that's my story of the time I had a 3-hour long conversation with a racist. Whenever the follow-up conversation happens with Phil, I will definitely let you guys know. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this story time video. I don't know if you really could enjoy it, but I hope it was, like, informative or interesting at least. If it was interesting to you, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. It would really help me grow. But other than that, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.